What's up, my awesome D-Rockers? We got another awesome video for you today. We're going to be doing Q&A answers. Give your subscriber base a unique and fun nickname. Make them feel inclusive and special. Nailed it. Thanks, YouTube Bootcamp. Yeah, just in case you're wondering why all these vloggers do that. Anyway, seriously though, thanks so much for all the questions. Again, I'm overwhelmed by all the questions I've gotten. Got a shit ton. So thanks, D-Rockers. Really appreciate it. So definitely got a lot. If you enjoy the videos where I ramble on and on and on with no particular sense of direction, boy, have I got a treat for you today. So let's just basically get right into it. I'm going to be answering these in the order in which they came. So first question we have here, Eric Howitt asks, what is your favorite movie out of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween series besides the first ones, and what is your favorite movie? Now, that's a good question because, I mean, usually if you ask somebody, you know, what's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie? You know, what's your favorite A, B, or C movie in a series? Like, usually more often than not, the answer is going to be the first one. Except for maybe, I guess the exception of at least amongst those three, is actually Friday the 13th. I don't know of a great many fans of that franchise who say the first one is the best. So, I guess I'll answer that one first. For Friday the 13th, my favorite out of that series, it is kind of a toss-up between Part 2 and Part 6, Jason Lives. Both are really, really good and really, really strong movies, I think. If I just purely want to go for something, you know, that I think generally has a good story, good characters, good kills, you know, that hot girl with the short shorts or skinny dips, probably going to be Part 2. I mean, I like, you know, where they took the story, and I do really like Ginny, the main character. She's one of the few, like, really, really standout characters, like final girls, if you want to call them that. They give her kind of, you know, good backstory and being this, you know, child psychology major who wants to kind of figure out what makes Jason tick, which you don't see that often. At the same time, though, I mean, you kind of think to yourself, well, I really like this one, but, you know, it's so petty, too. It's like, but Jason doesn't have his mask, his signature hockey mask, so I don't know, do you really, like, base it just on that? If, like, they George Lucased it and, like, went back and, like, CGI'd in a hockey mask instead of the town that dreaded sundown burlap sack with the hole in the eye over his face, would it be better? Maybe, actually. Steve Miner, call me, you know? So that, my instinct tells me that. But at the same time, let's say someone asked me to say, you know what, I'm not big into horror movies, and I just really only want to watch one Friday the 13th movie. Which Friday the 13th movie should I watch? I would probably more be on the side to recommend Jason Lives, Part 6, because, I mean, in a lot of ways it really is the definitive Friday the 13th movie, kind of the type of movie from that series that everybody has in their head. You know, Jason, he's an unstoppable killer, he has the hockey mask, and, you know, the movie is very funny and self-referential at times, awesome 80s music in it, decent kills, and I really liked it. So if I had to choose between the two, I would say Part 2, just by a small margin. For the Halloween series, I'd say that's probably a lot easier of a choice to make besides the first one. The first one's untouchable, needless to say, but if I had to choose a second favorite, it would be Halloween 2, because I think it is a very unique step for a sequel to take in the fact that they literally just extend the first movie. Like, the first movie, it all takes place on Halloween. It's one day. And we see a lot of sequels that, like, extend the story, like, take place, like, say, right after the first one, but right after in the sense of literally extending the events of one night in the sequel. I think that's really cool. And I liked how they brought a little bit more to the story with the Loomis character, you know, doing further research and seeing how the town of Haddonfield really kind of quickly turns against the Myers house. We see them kind of rioting and then things like that. They've slaughtered one of their own, it's awake! Something like that. And, you know, the whole twist with Michael Myers turning out to be Laurie Strode's brother, and all that was great. So definitely Part 2. Of A Nightmare on Elm Street series, that one's also kind of hard. It's really, for me, it's again, it's a toss-up between New Nightmare and Dream Warriors, where both are just like way different, but they're just so great of a follow-up to the original film. If we're discounting number 2, obviously, 3, I mean, it continues the Nancy story. We find that there's more kids who are being kind of tormented by Freddy, and they're all kind of coming together and finding a way to make their dreams work against Freddy, basically, using their dream powers to fight against him, which I think is just this incredible concept of a film. Meanwhile, with New Nightmare, it's like another incredible concept where it, flips the whole series inside out and becomes this kind of meta thing where the concept is Freddy is this ancient evil captured within the film, within storytelling, and how it really kind of takes a look at its own story, its own actors, its own characters, and creates something very meaningful out of it, I think, which is just incredible. Twist my arm, I'll say Dream Warriors, though. Very close, but twist my arm and I'll say Dream Warriors. Favorite movie in general? I was asked this last year, and I'll honestly just give the same answer. Probably The Shining. I mean, it's just a movie that I kind of always go to, know inside out, and it's always a pleasant experience and a new experience every time I see a movie. So to watch a movie that you've seen easily, I've probably seen The Shining well over 100 times, I'm sure, but to always get something new out of it each time I watch it, I think that's a very special kind of movie, I think. So I'll always go with The Shining for my favorite. Next question. Your Freaking Daddy asks, is there one childhood fave cartoon or TV show you would like to see as a movie? Well, a lot of kind of the favorites from my childhood probably already were made into movies, but if I can give one kind of, I don't know, like sort of an obscure one, there was a cartoon when I was a kid. It wasn't originally from when I was a kid. It was like a 60s cartoon that was in syndication when I was a kid, played on Saturday mornings. I would watch it every Saturday morning. A Canadian cartoon. It's called Rocket Robin Hood. I don't know if... I suppose most of my subscribers are American, so I'm not sure how familiar people are with Rocket Robin Hood. But basically, I mean, it's a 60s cartoon. Think of something like, Johnny Quest or that kind of animation style. It's basically like that. It's Robin Hood in the future, basically. I mean, that's really basically what it is. It's not literally Robin Hood. It's actually his direct descendant in the future, fighting the sheriff of, not Nottingham, but he's the sheriff of a planet, and he has this rocket that he flies around in, and, whatever. But I think that'd be kind of cool to see, like, an update, like a live-action, CGI-laden, big budget effects kind of movie. Because, I mean, in general, I suppose... Robin Hood, it's this timeless story. We still see movies about Robin Hood, and I guess more often than not, we're going to get kind of at least true to the folklore of it and have it take place in the time period from which it originated, which, unless I'm wrong here, and unless there's just something I'm not aware of, we haven't really seen like a modern kind of version of Robin Hood, let alone like a futuristic one. So imagine this version of Robin Hood in the future. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of fun to see. But Rocket Robin Hood. I don't know how many people remember that, but yeah. Next question here. Black Skull asks, how long ago was your first genuine horror experience? Novels, movies, plays, conventions, internet stores, etc. So, I mean, if I understand this question correctly, my first horror experience in the sense that a feeling of horror was, like, artificially provoked, I guess. Like, not through, like, real-life horror, but through, like, a movie that, scared you or whatever. And that's kind of hard to say, like, what was the first thing that kind of horrified me, I guess. Or at least brought me into horror. If you're just asking, what was the first like thing related to horror that I saw? I don't know. Maybe like I want to say Troll 2, I guess, but maybe more on that later because there is another question in regards to that movie. But in terms of like a horror experience, something that is artificial, that is not a real life horror, but provoked me into a feeling of horror. When I was a kid, we went on a vacation to Florida, to Universal Studios, where they had that. I don't know if they even have it anymore. They had the earthquake ride, which was like a little bit, less intense, but I think I was like 5 years old when I went to that. So, you just go in kind of the cart thing. It kind of drives you around, then all of a sudden, oh fuck, there's a fucking earthquake. And I didn't know any better. I thought it was real. So it legitimately fucking scared the shit out of me. So the earthquake ride on Universal Studios, that's the first time I remember being horrified by something that wasn't real. If that's an appropriate way to answer that question. So, next question. The Movie Dude 0123, good friend of the channel. Here's my cue. Do you think you'll do a review on the movie Idiocracy? And do you think we are heading to that future like in that movie? A very good question. I mean, it's a sound premise of the movie. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it. I remember I watched it like when it first came to video. But basically, the concept is the world is getting stupider. So we see like an opening kind of, I don't know, like a prologue to the movie that shows, well, here's this stupid guy, on the football team going like, well, I'm gonna get drunk, I'm gonna fuck you, I'm gonna fuck you, I'm gonna fuck you. Then like on the other side of the screen, it's like, oh, here's an intelligent Harvard graduate. It's like, well, it's just not the right time to have kids, And it's like, I'm gonna maybe freeze my ovaries and eggs, and we'll just all settle this later. Then like the husband dies, like, oops, forgot his sperm or something like that. I don't know, but basically the world evolved to a point where it's really fucking stupid. And kind of the funny thing about the movie and what makes the movie, this unique thing is that the person who is alive to see this dystopia, whatever you call it, Luke Wilson, he's like frozen in time and he wakes to this future. And the thing is, he's just a normal guy, right? So he's a normal, average, intelligent schlub kind of thing. And so I think kind of the moral of the movie is not so much of the dangers of our society heading that way, but more just, we shouldn't undervalue the average educated schlub. A person with average education is the most, widely known type of education. Like the most average intelligence is average intelligence for a reason, right? I mean, most people are of that intelligence level. Not everybody's fucking super genius. I know I'm not. And not everybody's a dum-dum who like can barely get out a word or barely write your versus your. That really doesn't work when you're saying it, does it? But anyway, so I think the moral of that is, a person of average to maybe low intelligence can still be a resourceful and good person, I guess. So that's kind of what I liked about the movie. If you're just generally asking, are we heading that way? I don't think so. I'm not quite that optimistic. Honestly, I mean, the world is either gonna, just completely run out of resource and die off, or be blown to nuclear holocaust before humankind evolves to that. Unfortunately, I think like Stephen Hawking just gave a speech at a university the other day, and he's like, well, yeah, we probably have about 1,000 years maybe left. We better start colonizing. So that will be the stupidest mistake of mankind, because I don't anticipate a rush to colonize on other planets, at least anytime soon. And if a real serious attempt is made at it, it will certainly be too late. So, fortunately, that's kind of how it is. But thanks for the question. I hope I didn't bum you out too much. That's my view. Charlie85 writes, who are your favorite YouTube movie reviewers? If I can answer that, probably like with a cheat. Because this particular person, who I'm a very big fan of, has a YouTube, and the way I get their reviews is through YouTube, but they're not established directly through YouTube. They're I guess it's on BBC Radio or whatever, but Mark Kermode, always, watch his videos on the Kermode and Mayo channel. I think he's just a terrific film reviewer. The way he's so able to succinctly and so intelligently and articulately describe a movie and criticize it in under like a 4 minute video. I'm always in awe of how he's able to kind of string together such a colorful and insightful comments on a movie. So I think he's just the best. Probably at least of living critics. I think he's kind of my go-to. I don't always agree with him, but I think he's fantastic. And how I get my information on Kermode is through YouTube, so I guess that kind of counts. If I want to, give a more direct answer, and like who's someone who's like directly established through YouTube that I enjoy, at least. And I mean, there's a lot. Personally, I mean, with the way YouTube is and the way YouTube movie reviewing is, I don't think I've quite seen like the messiah of YouTube movie reviewers just yet. A lot of these YouTube movie reviews are in part kind of seen as part movie review, part sketch comedy, which I don't know. I think that's okay, but I think maybe that's just something I'll have to accept because it's just not enough to do a straight movie review. You have to make it partially entertainment too. So if I would say the best of that format, of that mindset, of that kind of ideal of modern movie reviewing and being part sketch comedy, part movie review, I mean, you got to give it to Red Letter Media, right? So I mean, they really revolutionized with the Plinkett reviews. What is it, like 2 hour long review of Phantom Menace, and then Attack of the Clones, and then Revenge of the Sith, being very funny and being this character, Mr. Plinkett, who has women chained up in his basement and things like that, who makes the pizza pockets or whatever. What is it? What are those things? I don't know. It's an American thing. Pizza rolls. You want a pizza roll? I like that. I think that's funny. But at the still time, I mean, at the same time, still giving, I'd say, more than valid criticisms towards the movie, and explaining in kind of a straightforward way, that not trying to be this pretentious critic, which I think with a lot of people, specifically people who talk about the prequels, I mean, it goes a little bit over the top. Here it's just very kind of straightforward, standard kind of plain English explanation of why this person doesn't like the Star Wars movies. And then, of course, emerging from that comes the Half in the Bag show, which was something I was like terribly disinterested in when it first started appearing. And then when I finally actually decided to watch it, it's like, wow, this is really good. I mean, their reviews, I honestly forget their names. Mike and Josh, I want to say. Wait, those are the guys from Blair Witch. Anyway, whatever. But those two guys, while they're like hugely sarcastic and they're doing goofs and there's this sketch comedy and stuff, I do think from that emerges some insight, which is good. And of course, I like the stuff that they do with the Best of the Worst, Wheel of the Worst, and all that stuff. It's very entertaining. A lot of variety from Red Letter Media, which I appreciate. So I don't know. That'd be my preferred of this type of new wave film criticism, I guess. I don't know, but I like kind of the more old school reviewers still. So I will say firm answer Kermode on that. So I don't know, whatever. So what's the next question? Next question is Sean Rainey. Do you ever actually get scared when you watch some movies? Yeah, I mean, definitely. If I'm watching, I guess like a horror movie, if you get scared by it, sure. In kind of the same way as, say, like a comedy. Like, let's say you're watching a comedy movie, like just alone, not with like a group of friends, not in like the theater with a huge audience. You're watching it and you can still enjoy like a comedy movie without like literally laughing out loud, but your brain says, oh, this is funny, right? So, I don't know. That's the same way with a great many horror movies where I can kind of acknowledge in my head, like, yeah, this is scary, without, like, always, like, jumping up and, like, curling a ball and crying and stuff like that. So definitely I'll still feel, a genuine kind of reaction out of a scary movie that is set out to do that, to set out to scare you. I mean, still, I think horror movies have a good effect in that. And at the very least, I mean, just because it works the way it works. I mean, a movie that has like a long silent scene of nothing happening followed by boom, a big scare. I mean, it's going to get that reaction. You're still going to get startled. So that still works. Like, case in point, what I'll say, I was watching recently sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. I was watching The Exorcist 3, which is a movie I've seen many, many times. And of course, there's that infamous scene in the movie, the big jump scare, and that still gets me. It's one of the best jump scares. Again, if you want to call it a jump scare, but one of the best shocks and startles. It'll always kind of affect me just on that alone. So I think that speaks for the craft of that film. So definitely I'll still get a jump or two out of movies. So thanks for your question, Sean Rainey. Next question. Jesper Lindberg writes, are you aspiring to be a filmmaker yourself one day? That's a very interesting question, because you see a lot, like I was just talking, obviously, about kind of the climate of new kind of film criticism, new movie reviews, how it is in part like sketch comedy, in part movie reviews, which I'm not really too big on, but you hear from a lot of these movie reviewers, like, yeah, I love movies, I love to review movies, and I want to be a filmmaker myself one day, and it's like, well, okay, I personally think it's like a huge conflict of interest, because what if you're reviewing all these movies and then you make a movie yourself, and the movie yourself, you make yourself, is a piece of shit, and people aren't going to trust your opinion on movies anymore. Like, who's he to judge this movie if he made that fucking piece of shit? Even like Roger Ebert, like the most known film critic of all time, arguably, people still kind of hang over his heads, like, what do I care what this guy thinks? He wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. He wrote a fucking Russ Meyer movie, so, like, what the fuck? So I think that's a dangerous place to be. But just in general, I mean, I don't even know if I aspire to be a film critic either. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, to be perfectly honest with you, but not really. I always get ideas in my head, and I kind of think, oh, well, I should write a script and shop it around. But, nothing really comes of that. So I wouldn't say it's, I don't know, maybe not my aspiration in life to be a movie maker. I don't know what my aspiration in life is, but yeah, that's my answer. Thanks. Thanks, Jesper. Maximilian Holstrom writes, good friend of the channel, favorite film noir and femme fatale? Best film noir movie all time? Maybe inarguably, at least in my opinion, The Third Man. Of course, excellent film. And if we want to kind of point to everything that a noir is, should be, I think you'll find the answers with that. Femme fatale, if I can go a little bit more modern, I would say Faye Dunaway in Chinatown. I think she has maybe just a little bit more gravity than your average femme fatale, I think, in my opinion. Next question. Oh, we have a few. Link Biff, good friend of the channel. Nice to hear from you again, Link Biff. How you doing? Doing good. How you doing? Can you do a video giving a tour of your movie collection? I think I did one like maybe like 3 years ago or so. I mean, I guess I could. It's not really that interesting. Like, I do have like movie shelves and stuff like that, but I double stack, so I'll have like a row of movies behind a row of movies, so it's not that impressive. And I'll put movies in like big drawers and stuff, so they're not really on display. My biggest display I have is right behind me, actually. So I don't know, maybe, but I get a few questions like that, so maybe I should. I don't know. What movies from this year and last year did you like/hate the most? This year and last year. Like/hate. Well, I mean, probably of last year. I didn't do like a best of 2015 last year, but I'd have to say The Martian by Ridley Scott was probably the best film of last year. Worst, I don't know exactly the worst, but let's say like most overrated of last year. Oh shit, I was gonna say actually Theory of Everything, but that was 2014, wasn't it? Well, I don't know. I don't know what was worst. In terms of this year, I haven't seen too much, but one movie that I thought that was very interesting was Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe playing the farting corpse. That was a very interesting movie. Definitely different and kind of a lot more, I don't know, like profound and meaningful and, I don't know, kind of homoerotic than what you'd expect it to be in this weird way. It's this relationship between Paul Dano and this corpse, Daniel Radcliffe, who's becoming more animated and getting boners and stuff. I don't know. I thought it was just a fascinating movie, but there's still a lot I've yet to see. Favorite Full House character, Uncle Jesse, of course. Have mercy. He's the best. John Stamos for life. Thoughts on Fuller House? I really like Fuller House. I'm very excited for the next season. I think it's pretty solid kind of reinvigoration of the show, continuation of, you know, kind of wholesome goodness with, you know, a few dirty jokes here and there kind of snuck in. I like it, and I think it's worthy of the Full House brand. Actor, or actress you hate the most? Eddie Redmayne. Favorite film franchise? Gonna have to go with the Alien franchise this time. It's just so interesting, you know, like with each movie, at least let's say for the original 4, they always brought like a very visionary up and coming young director who, I mean, if you look at every single director of all the Alien movies, again, at least the original 4, they went on to do such incredible work. I mean, Ridley Scott, that was only his second movie. James Cameron, of course, that was right after the Terminator. Then, you know, obviously, James Cameron made the biggest movies of all time. David Fincher, his very first movie, got fucked over pretty bad by the studio, but went on to do great legendary movies. It's still considered to be one of the greatest directors currently working, and I'd agree with that. Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who go on to do Amélie, which is a favorite amongst many film fans. So, with these kind of directors jumping into this world of both science fiction and horror, giving their own twists on it, I think, you know, while still kind of mended together as an overall franchise, like each movie is such a different experience, and I don't know, it's just my favorite franchise, and I am thrilled that it's still going on. We're getting Alien Covenant soon, which I'm so excited about. Aren't you from Toronto? Close enough. I mean, I'm just right outside of Toronto. Does the Christmas season bug you like it does to some? Not really. It's not so much Christmas season itself, but maybe like the length of it, like where it really is. I mean, it's a joke that people like put on like Facebook and stuff, but it's like, you know, people like putting up their decorations like November 1st. It's like, come on, that's too soon. I love Christmas. I love it as much as most people, but to milk too much out of it, I think makes it less special. Christmas shouldn't be a 2-month event. Bottom line, it shouldn't be. What do you think of musicals, i.e. all singing, like Les Miserables, or mostly singing, like Grease? I don't know, like, yeah, Les Miserables is kind of a different thing for me, because most musicals, they'll have, like, regular talking, for lack of a better way to put it, between the songs. But Les Miserables, as far as I know, is all songs, which is this interesting thing to me. I like musicals. I do. I think, you know, some of the greatest, you know, most iconic films have been musicals, and I am quite happy to see it live on, much like, you know, something like, let's say, the Western. It's something that's a core part of Hollywood that would never quite die, because we're always going to see a little tiny resurgence here and there. I guess the last time we had like a huge resurgence in the musical was probably like, well, now at this point over 10 years ago with Chicago. But as you mentioned, Les Miserables, that was a huge hit too. So I mean, we'll see musicals here and there, and I enjoy them. I mean, I'm not inherently against musicals in any way. Have you ever met any famous film stars? Or have you ever met any famous film star? Trying to think. Well, I mean, I've been to a convention, like literally only one convention in my life. I went to Fan Expo Toronto. So I met Robert Englund, of course. I met Nathan Fillion. I guess those are like the two big stars that I met in just like an average, normal kind of way. I worked in this restaurant as a busboy many years ago, and one person who always was there was Brian Dennehy, and I don't know what he was doing there, because I figure he's American, but he was always there. And you know, just as a kid from Canada in Toronto, you're like gonna run into the Degrassi cast, which I pretty much ran into, like everyone from Degrassi. I even took classes with the guy who played Marco at university. So if Degrassi counts as a big star, like biggest star I've actually met and talked to, I guess either Robert Englund or Nathan Fillion. By accident, I guess Brian Dennehy. Have you ever been in a show? Like a TV show? No. Except if Romper Room counts, which, I don't know, I feel comfortable in revealing because no one will ever find that tape. But, thank you for your questions, Link Biff. Appreciate it, ma'am. Aquinet123, great friend of the channel, writes, let's try this 20 questions thing again, shall we? Do you rearrange the movies behind you every time you make a video? Yes, I do. And yeah, I get a lot of questions about that, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I'm not sure why. I don't know if it bugs people. Actually, someone said, yeah, it kind of bugs me, in like a joking way. They're just like, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable to see. I don't know, but yeah, I do. Mostly because, I don't know, I just want it to be kind of a different thing every time you watch the video. And like, I do, honestly, it's very weird, but I do kind of put a lot of thought into it before I do a video. Like if I'm doing a review of a certain movie, I'll kind of think, well, what movies do I have in my VHS collection that kind of relate to it in some kind of way, like either by like genre or actor, director, something like that. So usually like the movies you see behind me at least have some kind of relation to the movie that I'm talking about in the video. So put a lot of thought into it. So yeah, I do. It's not a coincidence. I'm the one rearranging them. It isn't the devil. Or maybe the devil made me do it. I don't know. Question 2. If you were to make a movie, who would star in it? Who would star in my movie? Michael Fassbender. I don't know why it was the first name that came to my head. 3. I see you doing video games now. Ever consider multiplayer games? I definitely consider them. Like, to like record? No, probably not. Maybe like Mario Kart. But the thing is, if I do that, I will expose myself for like the shitty fucking gamer I am. Whenever I do go on, like just not for the purpose of this channel, like just my own kind of life, go on like multiplayer online on Mario Kart, I suck so fucking bad and I hate myself and I just can't do it. Question 4. Favorite movie that was based off a book? I guess. Well, I mean, The Shining was based off a book, so I'll say The Shining. Favorite book you want to see turned into a movie? I would like to see Carter Beats the Devil turn into a movie. I think there was talk about it, but it seems to have drizzled out. I know some notable producer has the rights to it, but I haven't heard much. The last time I even heard that they were even considering making a movie was probably like 5 years ago or so. But I'd love to see. It's a Glenn David Gould novel. Carter Beats the Devil. It's all about basically, it's hard to say, but it's about the invention of television. Basically, is the best way to put it. And kind of this conspiracy behind it, and it's quite the book, which is probably going to be difficult to adapt. But I'd love to see John Hamm in the title role. I think that'd be very interesting to see. So that's what I'd like to see. Question number 6: favorite stage production? I have no idea. Like stage production, like a play. Cats? I literally don't know. 7: favorite YouTuber that you'd suggest we go check out? Stares at you intensely. Well, obviously, Aquanet123. Check her out. If I can get, I have a lot of channels I watch quite a bit. If I can kind of just give recommend, like let's say you like my channel and like say something that's maybe similar. A lot of channels that I really like. I love Stoudman. He's a very awesome YouTuber. A lot of like Blu-ray updates and stuff like that. Right now, it's the Black Friday season, so he's in full fucking force, and his videos are great. I mean, I have been like watching like every single one lately. He did a lot of stuff for Halloween, which I really enjoyed. Really like the Review King MB, Mike Brown. Very good movie reviews. It's kind of like this style that I personally like. He doesn't do too much of the jump cutting and the over stylized kind of person. He seems just like a real person. So Review King MB, check him out. Stoudman, check him out. Who else? I like Cinema Darling. I'm assuming she's a Southern girl, but it's a very upbeat kind of videos. Again, kind of just a normal person kind of opinion. She's like, "Hey, y'all, gonna talk about a movie today." She's really fun. I like watching her. And if I can think of it, there's a newer channel that I just discovered, which every time I do a movie review. Big rule I set for myself, whether it's a new movie, whether it's an older movie, don't look up reviews for them until your review is done, because it'll, dilute my opinion somehow. So I always, I'll binge on reviews after I upload mine. So if I review something, I'll immediately start searching. Once I've uploaded, or even during the upload while I wait, I'll search reviews for them. And that's how I find a lot of people that I enjoy quite a bit. The Reviewer is simply the name, and I've visited his channel, watched his reviews of movies that I've seen, a little back and forth here and there. Very insightful reviews. I don't think he's, at least from what I've seen, not in front of the camera, but it's kind of like a voiceover to footage or images of the movie, things like that. Very good reviews, very in-depth, and I feel we kind of have similar opinions. So that'd be pretty much all I can think of at the moment. But I mean, there's I'm subscribed to so many different channels, but those are just kind of the ones that I've been watching quite a bit of lately. So yeah, if I can give some recommendations, I'd recommend those. Question 8. Oh, already run out. I think I did better last time around. This on-the-spot stuff doesn't work for me. Well, on the spot or not, I appreciate the questions, Aquanet. I think this is gonna do it for we're getting to 40 minutes almost here, so this will be part 1. So there's still a lot more questions. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. Part 2 coming soon, and still ask some questions. And I'll tell you what, if you're watching this, if you watched this whole video, got to the end, congratulations. I'm in awe. But feel free to leave questions. If you don't want your YouTube name up there, because obviously, if you've seen, I put the names and stuff. Do it through Twitter, at hi, this is Derek237. I think that's my Twitter. I don't even fucking know my Twitter. And then the Facebook, if you want to put a question on the Facebook, at hi, this is Derek on Facebook. So you can leave questions there if you want, but otherwise you can comment below, comment on the other video. But we'll do some more later. So thanks for watching, and more coming. Ooh, I speak well. What's up, my awesome D-Rockers? We got another awesome video for you today. We're going to be doing Q&A answers.